Hello, everyone. Happy to be back at TestFlix. This year, I'm going to talk about automating accessibility tests using Playwright. Let's get started. Um, in this session, you will understand what is accessibility and what is Playwright, a quick introduction, basically, and a walkthrough of the code that helps you to kind of achieve accessibility using Playwright, and a demo of the code as well. So accessibility is nothing but you enabling a disabled person to kind of access your website without having to kind of struggle through the different issues that they may have when it comes to accessibility. Some of the accessibilities could be that someone who is hard of using a keyboard or a mouse might actually use a screen reader to understand what's on the website, or your web application, and then try and achieve what they want using a screen reader. Someone who is colorblind or visually challenged may need to kind of know what's going on the screen. So in this case, they may have a hard time in terms of the colors that are there on the screen. So having some sort of an icon can actually help them understand what exactly is going on the screen. And then someone who has issues accessing a website through a mouse or a trackpad may use a keyboard, and the keyboard navigation is also very, very vital, as you might see in this third example. And you also see that screen readers need to understand what's going on the screen, especially in an image, right? So having an alternate text to the image will actually provide the screen reader as to what this particular image means. And for someone who may not be able to kind of understand the text if it is spaced very closely, maybe use a text size or a line spacing or a text spacing utility on your website or your web app to kind of increase the spacing between the text, right? And also navigation is necessary. So let's say if a user wants to jump between two or three pages, it's always a good idea to kind of have options for user to jump between pages. And as you can see from the second example, where if somebody has to go to trees, they may have to go from bees to knees and all the way to trees, which is not a very conducive way for somebody who has accessibility issues to kind of jump between different areas. And it's not just with somebody with accessibility issues, but even for a regular user, it may be a little difficult to achieve it. Now let's look at Playwright. So Playwright is a Node.js library. It has support for .NET, Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, as well as Java. And it's primarily used for your writing your UI automation as well as API automation, and also can be used for test-driven development. Um, Playwright supports all Chromium and WebKit browsers, so almost all browsers that are there on planet Earth is supported. And it supports Android browser from a mobile stack perspective. While Playwright has its own runner, you can also add your own other runners like Jasmine or Cucumber, TestNG, or even JUnit. So Playwright has all the process of supports that you need, and it can also be launched in incognito mode. Playwright actually has inbuilt auto weights, so you do not have to write your weights. Of course, it has other weights if you want to add it for a specific scenario. API testing is there natively, so you do not have to add another plugin for API testing. It runs on devices, but also you can resize your browser using viewport to actually emulate or stimulate the devices when you run your test cases. It has network monitoring and mocking built in, and this is especially useful if you want to write your test-driven development tests, which I mean, mocking the APIs without having to kind of what is that, have the real APIs when you run your tests. Playwright comes with natural parallelism, so each test can run its own thread. You can actually spawn multiple browsers in different threads. So that way you save a lot of time in terms of running all your tests parallelly. And it provides all the generic hooks that you would need to run your tests um, based on the scenario or based on the preconditions that you want to set up for your test. Some of the accessibility, basically, how does Playwright achieve accessibility? Playwright uses something called the Axe Engine by this company called TechQ, which helps it to kind of analyze a given page and then tell us what exactly is wrong with the page. So it basically dumps the DOM and then does some analysis and then gives out the results. And the results can be added to any of your test runner reports, or it can also be seen in the Playwright report itself. Now let's have a quick walkthrough and a demo of how this works. I have a code here which basically opens this website Parabank. It's a security testing website, so it's not one of the best accessible websites. So that's a classic example that I could take. And what I'm doing here is I'm actually calling Axe Builder, which is basically the Axpro Playwright plugin that I've installed. And then I am actually storing these results in the accessibility scan results variable and looking for any violations. And if there are any violations, Playwright is gonna fail this test and then spit out what are the violations basically. To install the Axe core, after you install Playwright and set up this project, you can just type npm install Axe core and at the rate of Axe core Playwright, which installs the Playwright support for Axe core. So I've done this already, so I'm just displaying it here for you to kind of follow through. So once it is done, you can actually start running your test. So yeah, this is the first test, which is accessibility test on Parabank. I can just try and execute it. Maybe I'll just execute it from the command line. I'm going to call the test using SG, accessibility test on Parabank. You can see Playwright is running on multiple workers across different browsers. The test obviously fails because it's one of it's a nightmare when it comes to the accessibility tests. Basically, the website has several issues. We can see here the first issue is something that we saw earlier, which is color contrast. The website doesn't have enough color contrast, so to speak. Let's look for some other issue that may be very something that you may be able to identify with. Maybe something like an alt image. Let me search for it on image alt. So yeah, there's no alternate image that is specified. So that's also a test that failed. Nice. So yeah, what you can do is as a next step, once test fails, you can dump this whole thing into a JSON file and send it across to your developer to kind of run and fix it. There are other ways to kind of also retrieve a JSON file. So in this example, let's say you're using a different runner other than the Playwright's own runner, and you're generating different reports. Then you can use the Playwright's option, that is just info, to kind of attach these results into the report, and it will actually dump this whole JSON into the report of whichever runner that you're using. Yeah, so and again, so in this example, I can also add or disable rules that I want to kind of exclude while I'm running the analyzer. I can also add some of the web content accessibility guidelines rules that are given by this consortium. So I can add or maybe even kind of exclude some of these guidelines so that I do not have to actually test some of the older guidelines on a website or a web app that is particularly new. So these are some of the additional accessibility methods that you can actually add when you're running the analyzer. and make it easier for you to kind of filter through the reports as well. Yeah, so this is really how you achieve accessibility using Playwright. Um, if you want to understand what rules to kind of exclude or what rules are supported, you can head over to the GitHub page for Axcore, and they have a very comprehensive rule description in this page under the documents. And if you want to understand Playwright's accessibility testing itself, go to the documents and head over to accessibility testing at Playwright. But please remember, Playwright already had an accessibility method for you to kind of test accessibility, which has now been deprecated, and they encourage you to use Xcode to achieve accessibility. So you can see in this documentation on how to install Xcode and then how to write your basic accessibility test with testcam, and it also gives you more information on what are the methods that are supported by the apps builder. Yeah, just go ahead and look at this page and then customize your test based on your names. So with that, I would end my demo. So what we saw is what is accessibility and some of the accessibility issues. There are a ton of other issues that you may want to look at. There are a ton of resources, and even there are TestFlix videos that could actually help you to understand accessibility testing if you want to begin your chapter in accessibility testing. Uh, Again, Playwright is a very niche tool. It's up and coming, and of course, a lot of organizations have started embracing Playwright. And accessibility testing using Playwright is something that is really phenomenal. It saves a lot of time when it comes to accessibility. You do not have to use third-party tools to run your accessibility tests. Instead, you can just use what is that? The analyzer, the Xcode analyzer, which will help you to kind of get the accessibility report pretty quickly. So yeah, it's a really a time saver. So please go ahead and try it out today. Thanks a lot, everyone, and you can reach me out at Twitter at Chennai Mail and LinkedIn at Sundaresan.